I thought I had a terrible metabolism. I thought I was always going to be heavy. And then I started on my weight loss journey in my late 20s, and I made a huge change in my body composition. I put on more muscle, and I've never gone back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live video. If you're joining me here on Facebook or you're catching the recording, either way, so happy that you are here. I am Dr. Nicole Smith. I'm the founder of Antigravity Wellness. I'm a menopause board certified provider. I run a telemedicine hybrid practice here in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And I do have a physical location in Kennewick where we do functional and aesthetic injections, body composition, and other things like workshops. We actually have a workshop coming up next month, August 8th on Saturday from 10 a.m. until 11:30. I'll be doing a co-workshop with Dr. Desiree Lyle, all about strength in midlife. And it doesn't matter where you're starting, whether you have never lifted in your entire life, aside from your body weight standing up from a chair, or if you're a more advanced lifter and want to learn more about how to work through, you probably have some injuries by now, and what is the most effective exercise for women coming into midlife and beyond. We're going to be covering all of that and why it's so important. There's going to be door prize, there's going to be gift bags, goodies, refreshments. It's going to be a vibe. So if you are able to make it, that'd be awesome. The link to that, if you want it, just message us and we'll send it to you. Okay, let's get into today's topic. Let me get over to my notes. Okay. Why belly fat gets harder to lose after the age 35 and 5 things that actually work. This is not about crash dieting. It's not about doing the latest, greatest fad. It's actually about what really truly works, what is evidence-based by the research, also in practice, because I do both. We look at the research, but we also practice on people, real human beings who are not in a research study, not in controlled trials. And does this actually translate? So that's very important. So this is basically an impromptu masterclass, guys. We're going to go into it. If you have been hearing about the 21-day flat belly challenge that is on sale this month, it is an evergreen program, but right now it's on sale. You get lifetime access to it. Any updates that I decide to do, you get lifetime access to it. You're also going to get a monthly Zoom with me. We're doing it on the last Wednesday of the month at 12:15, and so that will be tomorrow, by the way. So if you want to join tonight, then you'll be able to join us tomorrow for that live Zoom. And if you can't make the live, it's totally fine, because it will be recorded and it will be uploaded into the bonus section and available to you forever for the life of the program, which, unless the world shuts down, as far as the internet's concerned, right? Okay, so this is one of the things that comes up very frequently in practice. Yes, she's tired. Yes, her libido's down. Yes, her hormones are all over the place. But also, sometimes we just don't want to admit it, but we don't like how we look. And that's okay. So that little belly fat that starts to accumulate as we are going through the late 30s into our 40s and 50s and beyond, it's disheartening. It's disconcerting. On top of everything else, do we really need to be dealing with this? Like, now I have this little belly fat that I didn't really have before. Or if you did have it before, but you were like keeping it under control, and now it's just worse. And it's like, oh my God, what can I do? It's not just about how you look, but that is valid, by the way. So being concerned about how you look and how you feel in your body, completely freaking valid. Don't let anyone tell you that you're not allowed to feel a certain way about how you look. But make sure it is about you and not about what anybody else thinks, because screw everybody else. We know that we're in our 40s, right? I don't care. I do not care, clip, right? It's all about you. So how you feel in your body. But also, there's problems associated with increased belly fat. Generally, that also comes with what's called increased visceral fat. Visceral fat is the deep fat. So we have 2 layers of fat, especially in the belly region. So we've got the subcutaneous fat, which is like that layer that's right under the skin. You can pinch it with your fingers. It's right there. That's what we call healthy fat. It's just fluff, okay? So it doesn't really hurt anything in general, unless it gets really higher levels of body fat. that in and of itself will actually, it will release inflammatory cytokines, inflammatory messengers, will cause more inflammation in your body. So if your body fat percentage is over 30%, over 35%, over 40% of your total body weight is fat, that is when we start to run into health problems, inflammatory problems. So just decreasing that in and of itself will improve your health. But in the belly, there's what's called deep visceral fat. Now that is underneath the muscle, and that is where your internal organs are. This type of fat we need some, but too much actually starts putting pressure on your internal organs and is metabolically active in a very bad way. This is a type of fat, that deep visceral fat, is associated with heart disease, metabolic disorders, diabetes, increased risk for stroke, high blood pressure, all of those things. And it's the fat that we generally associate with men. Men tend to have more of that, belly fat than women do. But as we go through menopause and we lose estrogen, which is protective against that, we start to shift our body fat to accumulate more in that belly region. Stress also plays a role in this. So as our stress levels are higher and we have less of a tolerance or less resilience to stress as we're going through perimenopause, our estrogen levels are fluctuating, our progesterone levels are fluctuating, our sleep is going to complete crap, and hormone fluctuations are causing mood swings. Like, it's just a whole fun ride, right? Our adrenals are not as adaptive as they were when we were younger. And I'm sure many of you have experienced this. I'm preaching to the choir right now. You're like, I just cannot cope with things like I used to. I do not have the capacity. My give a F is completely gone. Like, it's just so much harder. And you're not making that up. It's actually happening in your body. We can see that in your cortisol levels. That in and of itself will also pull fat into the belly region, even weight staying relatively the same. And that's because the stress and the adrenals are saying, hey, we need quicker energy. So we're going to put that energy closer to where we can access it. Seems kind of weird, because if we know anything about physiology and how the body loses weight, we know we can't spot reduce unless you're using liposuction. That's not a thing. You will lose or gain body fat according to your genetics and your hormones. So your body really kind of makes that decision for you. That's why some people, when you start to lose weight, you'll notice that maybe your face will get leaner and your arms will get leaner, or maybe you're lucky, like I usually am, sorry, and you start to lose that fat around your midsection first. And then your legs and your butt are the last thing to go. They just hang on for dear freaking life. We can't spot reduce like that, right? Your body's going to do what it's going to do. So if you are finding that you're having difficulty, you've really leaned out, you're still struggling with that last little bit of belly fat, the last little bit, then, you get to make some decisions. Number one, how important is it to you to be that lean? To get to that point, we're talking 6-pack abs. We're talking veins on the abs. That's talking going into bodybuilding and getting stage ready. And not even bodybuilders are stage ready year round. It's just not realistic. It's not healthy to do that. It's a very low body fat percentage. When we're going through menopause, having a little bit of fat on us is actually protective. That's one of the places where our body actually makes estrogen. So we get, as we go through menopause and we lose the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone that comes from our ovaries, as those ladies are shutting down and retiring for their lives, then where are we getting those hormones? Because we still have some. They're just a lot lower than they used to be. So where are they coming from? They're coming from your adrenals. So your DHEA is going to be one of those precursor hormones, your pregnenolone. Those things will get turned into testosterone. Testosterone gets turned into estrogen by adipose cells, fat cells. So your fat is protective. It's trying to protect you and make sure that you're still making enough estrogen to at least stay alive. Because if you have zero, you're miserable and it's not going to be good for you. So that's another reason why
having at least a little bit of body fat, a healthy level of body fat is optimal. It's going to help you. And we don't want you to be at the lowest level possible because that's just not healthy for you. You're not going to feel good. And the whole point of this is for you to feel good and look your best. So having some realistic expectations there is also super important. What do you really want? All right, we talked about estrogen. Oh, muscle loss. Okay, so let's talk about muscle loss because that's super important. There's this thing called sarcopenia, and as we age, it becomes a real thing. And that's muscle wasting and muscle loss. There's a certain amount that's normal with aging, but a lot of it is tied to things like loss of estrogen. Estrogen is anabolic. It's a hormone that builds. It builds muscle. It builds bone. So as we lose that hormone, we start to have less bone building, muscle building stimulus signaling. Testosterone is also one of those. And in a lot of women, the testosterone level starts to decline. So we'll notice that as well. In addition to loss of libido, loss of energy, and just kind of feeling blah. So that is definitely going to contribute to that. But also, we're not moving as much. I don't know if you've noticed, but when you were in your 20s, didn't you? Personally, I rode the bus everywhere. I didn't own a car. I was going to school and I was working, and I worked downtown. So I had to go downtown and work and then come back. And I was walking all over the place all the time. So that helped to maintain my weight, even though I was eating garbage. And then later, as I slowed down, the weight came on. So activity level is huge. And if you were actually to track your steps, are you less than 4,000 steps a day? Because technically that's getting towards sedentary. So we want to make sure that we're hitting at least 7,000 to 8,000 steps a day, upwards of 10,000. Beyond 10,000 steps a day, which is an arbitrary number, but we've done enough studies now that beyond 10,000 steps a day, there's kind of law of diminishing returns. So up to a certain point, you get good results. And then after a point, it just kind of like falls off. And then we also need to think about recovery capacity. If you're not sleeping very well, we don't want you doing a bunch of exercise. That's only going to tax your system more, and you can't recover from that. Your number one recovery is sleep and just basic recovering from life, let alone from training, from exercise, even just walking. We need to make sure that we're getting enough sleep. That has to come first. But that muscle loss is huge. And as we lose our estrogen and our testosterone levels go down, by giving hormone replacement, that's a great option to help with that, but it's not enough. We still have to do strength training. We need to do progressive overload strength training. You start where you are. You start with body weight. That's perfect. Some people, a lot of people actually, majority of the population out there, especially over the age of 40, their max is a body weight squat to a chair and standing back up again. That's as much as they can do. And if that's where you are, that's fine. That's where you start. And then you slowly increase from there. So if you can do 2 squats this week, next week you try for 3. And then for 4, and then for 5, and then get up to 10. And then once that's easy, then you start picking up a little weight, like some water. And then you can get you can get a little kettlebell. Like there's ways to slowly progress, but the point is that you're always challenging the body to continue to grow. That's how our muscles are. Muscles are very metabolically expensive. They take a lot of energy at rest. So that's the best way, by the way, to improve your resting metabolism so that you burn more calories and don't have to like eat like a bird in order just to like maintain weight, is to increase your muscle mass by challenging those muscles to grow and properly fueling them. You cannot be in a huge calorie deficit, not eating enough protein, not eating enough carbs, not eating enough fat, and expect that your muscles are going to grow. It's not going to happen. They're expensive. The body will not do it. So what we need to do is give it the right stimulus, tell the body that we need this to function, and we do that by doing progressive overload strength training. And twice a week is enough to do total body strength training. Just twice a week. That's enough stimulus. Ideally, we get you to more. Ideally, you like it, and you start to grow to love that and want to do more. But that will actually increase your muscle mass. So while you're just sitting here at rest, you will burn more calories. That's nice. Okay. There's very few things we can do to actually increase your resting metabolic rate, and that is one of them. The rest of it depends on your body mass, your sex, whether you're male or female. Females burn less, but also we're smaller, but there's also some sex hormone differences in there. Your genetics will also dictate that. Some people have a very efficient metabolism, which you would think would be a good thing, but it's not in this case. Those with a very efficient metabolism means that they take everything in and they store it really well. We want those inefficient metabolisms that burn through everything. Fidgeting, so that's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So when we're fidgeting and we're walking and we're doing stuff all the time, you're talking with your hands, or you just don't really sit still, those people burn more calories during their just normal daily activity because they're constantly moving around. So just that kind of something to keep in mind there. Insulin resistance. As we lose estrogen, we become more insulin resistant. And you'll also notice that in your luteal phase, those of you ladies who are still cycling during your luteal phase, as your estrogen levels start to drop, your progesterone level should be coming up. So that feels nice, but you will also notice that you have more sugar cravings and your insulin resistance is actually increased a little bit there. So having more complex carbs, really paying attention to a whole foods diet, eating enough protein, getting enough fiber will really help with all of that. Under eating and over exercising. So those will actually cause you to gain more belly fat and retain it. So eating less, exercising more, doing more cardio is not going to help you at all. So here's a really great case study. This is one of my favorite patients who came to me, and she was doing all the right things that she knew to do, right? And she had a couple babies and she was in her late 30s and she had belly fat. She just could not shake. She was running 5 miles every morning. And she was also strength training a couple days a week. And she was like, I just can't get rid of this belly fat. And it's actually, I feel like it's getting worse. And so we took a deeper dive, and it turns out she wasn't eating before her run in the morning. And she was doing way too much physical activity. And she actually wasn't having her first meal until like 10 o'clock in the morning. And then she was starving by the afternoon and tanking and going to the vending machine, getting something. She had sugar cravings that she couldn't control. She's like, I'm trying to not eat candy, but that's what I reach for when I'm tired and I just need something. And then snacking at night. I was like, oh, well, it makes perfect sense. So we switched things around. We took away her running. I know I'm mean like that, but her body didn't need it that time. It was like, let's just stop this for right now. If you really love it, we come back to it, but right now it's not doing you any favors. So we pulled back on that, and she just did like a fast-paced walk in the morning with the dogs, because she's like, I gotta take the dogs out. Absolutely do that, but let's pull it back and just do a fast-paced walk, and you make sure you have a snack before you go. When we don't eat before exercise in the morning or at any time really, it's just giving a stress signal to the body. It doesn't help you burn more calories throughout the whole day. Will you burn more calories during that actual session? Yes, but that will spike your stress hormone even more so than it needs to be. It's already spiked during exercise, which can be a good thing, but when we spike it too much, when we don't feed ourselves properly, that's not a good thing. And you end up actually, your body will conserve more energy during the rest of the day and hold on to more calories. So you burn less calories during the day when you do that. So they've done studies on this. And women who are still cycling are really susceptible to this. So it's a really bad idea. And I tell everybody this. Some of them believe me and they do it, and then they see how much better they feel. You can perform better during your workouts. You have better energy, and it sustains throughout the day instead of you having these crashes and needing to reach for coffee or sugar or something to get you through the day. And then the sugar cravings go away, and it's so much easier because you're eating whole foods, you're fueling your body, you're listening to what your body actually needs, you're recovering a lot better. And guess what? The belly fat came off. She lost like 4 inches of belly fat. It was crazy. And just felt so much better. And that, I think, is more important than anything else. Yes, I want you to have the body that you dream of, but not at the expense of your health, not at the expense of how you're feeling, because that's not going to last. You're like, this is miserable. I'm not going to do this anymore. The next thing is the pillars. We need proper nutrition. You got to have enough protein. We're talking 1 gram per pound of body weight if your body fat percent is 30% or below. If your body percent is over 30%, then we're going to say aim for grams of protein per pound of ideal body weight. So like, for the average 5'5" woman, I would put her to, let's say, goal of 120 to 140 grams of protein, giving her a little bit of flexibility in there. A lot of women that I talk to that come into my practice are eating 80 grams or less a day. That's barely enough just to keep you upright, okay? Definitely not enough to support your hormones, your muscle, your energy, your recovery, or even to help with that satiety too. When you're eating more protein, you feel less hungry. So it's a lot easier for you to not reach for those things that you don't necessarily want in your diet as far as what your goals are. Having enough fiber, we're aiming for 25, upwards of 35 grams of fiber per day. That's for your heart health, it's for your gut health, for your colon health, and it's also for your satiety. Again, that sense of like, I've eaten enough, I'm full, I'm satisfied. It's really going to help with that. It also helps with your blood sugar because it keeps it from spiking. When digestion takes a little bit longer via things like fiber, that blood sugar doesn't, or that sugar from what you eat, carbohydrates, get turned into sugar. It all goes in the same place, guys. It doesn't spike as high as quickly. So it's released more slowly, which is what the body is used to. More recently, we had all of these processed foods that strip the fiber, strip the water, strip the chewing. They're all like soft and hyper palatable and a little too easy to like shovel things down, right? And that only worsens that blood sugar spike, which over time spike, and your pancreas gets really worn out, and your cells get worn out too because there's all this insulin. They're like, we are full, okay, stop. So they will become insulin resistant, and that's a problem. Meal timing, we talked about that. Fasting before workouts, bad idea. If it's a light, like you're just going for a walk, that's one thing. Anything though that gets your heart rate up and you need to like take a breath before you can say the next sentence, you should be eating before that, okay? Even just a little snack. So like, let's say that you have to get up super early and you got to go to the gym. Half a banana and half a scoop of protein powder in water or like almond milk or something like that, if that's what your jam is. That's perfect. It's quick digesting, but it gives you enough energy and the signal to your body that it is safe, that we have enough energy to do this workout and to build muscle. Your recovery actually starts before the workout, by the way. So blood sugar, fiber goes along with that, protein goes along with that. And then anti-inflammatory foods, things that are going to irritate your gut that, you may or may not know. I'm actually going to do a separate one of, we talk about the 21-day flat belly challenge this month. I am definitely in the next month or two going to do a gut reset challenge as well, because this is huge. When you're eating foods that are inflaming and you already have underlying inflammation, it's just going to make things so much worse. So pay attention to what you're eating. How is it making you feel? Do you feel puffy? Do you feel tired? Does your skin break out? Like, how do you feel when you eat these foods? And just be mindful of that. Maybe we eat less of those so we feel better. Okay. Pillar number 2 is strength training. We already kind of talked about that when I talked about sarcopenia. Cardio, it's not going to cut it. In fact, I really don't want you doing very much cardio at all. I want you walking, like I said, 7,000 to 8,000 steps, upwards of 10,000 steps. Beyond that, it's really kind of law of diminishing returns. I would rather you go into a home gym, your local gym, any type of situation where you're doing progressive overload strength training. You're starting with body weight and you're slowly increasing your reps, your tempo, the weight you're lifting, your sets, something. That is how we progress over time and challenge the muscles to continue to grow and get stronger. This is going to help you on so many levels, not just aesthetically. You will look better. Your curves will look nice and full, as opposed to that skinny fat where you lose a bunch of weight, but you have no muscle tone. More to the point is that it's not healthy. So your body fat composition is more important than your overall body weight to a certain extent, right? Too lean on one end and too heavy on the other end. Both sides have their own health problems, right? We want to be somewhere in the middle. Muscle is super important. And then your bone health. What builds muscle builds bone. So as we are strength training, we're putting tension on the bones, and especially those things that actually load the full axial spine. Squats are great if you're able to do those. But I actually saw a really interesting study on menopausal women who had osteopenia, or borderline osteoporosis, and they put them in a study and they did hack squats. So it's a machine that you get into that will kind of still helps to load, but it puts the weight on your shoulders, and it's in a machine. So it's a lot safer as far as, not using a barbell that some people just their mobility, range of motion and things doesn't allow them to get into that position. So you get into this machine and you do your squats. And they found that all the way the hip and the lumbar spine, and even the cervical, like up into the upper back area, the bone density improved drastically, like significant improvements as compared to like bisphosphonate, a medication that we use to help with bone reabsorption. And those people who have osteopenia or osteoporosis. So super, super important that we're doing compound lifts like that, like big full body squats, deadlifts, overhead press, modified pull-ups and push-ups, bench press, things like that are compound lifts, barbells, free weights. All of that is good. I really love free weights myself because I'm doing a lot more unilateral training, which means I do one side and then I do the other. And I still do my compound lifts with the barbell, so it's both sides at the same time. But I'm incorporating one side or the other as well to address those imbalances that we all naturally have. Like you're right-handed, you're right hand dominant, your right side tends to be stronger. Same thing, those people who are left-handed, their left side typically is a little bit stronger. And that will increase your risk for falls as you get older, having one side unbalanced. So doing unilateral training will really help to really rebalance you there and decrease your risk for falls as we age, which is super, super important. Pillar number 3 is your recovery, your sleep, your stress, your cortisol, active recovery. So that walking is going to come back into play. Oh, I forgot to mention. So let's talk about cardio. Once you get down, you're walking, once you get down, you're strength training at least twice a week, upwards of 4 times a week, or more if you want to, with enough recovery in between. So you shouldn't be super, super sore going into your next workout. You should be able to be sleeping all right. You should be fueling yourself well enough. You're not waking up in the middle of the night like hungry. You might be waking up for other reasons, but that'll be addressed in other things. Maybe your progesterone's low and we need you to get on some progesterone, and that'll help. But also doing some cardio. So let's talk about what type of cardio. So HIIT and or sit. So high intensity interval training or sprint interval training. They're really pretty similar. So basically what I want you to do is once you get all of those things down, you feel comfortable with that, you can start incorporating no more than twice a week, about 5 to 10 minutes max after your strength training workout, if you're going to do it with that, or even on a completely separate day is great too. You're going to do your sprint intervals or your high intensity intervals, and you can do them with like anything. So we can do burpees, which suck, right? You can do a machine, you can do an elliptical, a rower, an assault bike, a treadmill if your knees will let you. You can do sled pushes, you can do kettlebell swings, you can do battle ropes, you can do a combination of all of these. I really like incorporating plyometrics because it is double whammy. So I get my high intensity and I get my jumping, which gives extra stimulation to my bones to make sure that they're nice and strong. And plus it just makes me feel more athletic. Like, how many of us still jump? Oh, and also like tumbling on the floor and like getting down on the ground and getting back up again. Those things are important. So I incorporate all of these things into my training and into my patients. When they come into the practice, we start working on these types of things too. And it just really helps to up the ante there. Pillar number 4 is lifestyle, hydration, eliminating alcohol. It's a poison. It gets metabolized through the liver first because it's a poison. So, and you might notice as you get older, you just don't metabolize it as well. You're not making that up. You really can't metabolize it as well. And it really does increase your risk of falls, your risk of liver damage and these types of things, and even belly fat too. Movement snacks. So when you are sitting a lot, you'll notice your energy drops, right? Well, a great way to incorporate movement into your day, and especially if you're struggling to get steps in, is to incorporate what's called movement snacks. So every 40 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what you're doing, you get up and you do something. You walk around, you do some air squats, you do some lunges, you do something to just kind of get your blood pumping again and moving. Or you get like a treadmill desk or something if you're able to. Your environment, man, setting up an environment that is conducive to the lifestyle that you want to live is super, super important. Meal prepping, huge, huge, huge. Even if it's not every single meal that you prep ahead of time, but just being prepared and making sure you're eating for your goals, and not just grabbing whatever, because whatever is not going to be aligned with what you need for the body that you want or for your hormones. And then pillar number 5 is mindset. So there's that whole perfectionism, right? All or nothing. If I can't do this the right way, then screw it. What am I even doing? Yeah, I relate to this. Okay, I think a lot of people do. The key is consistency. And it's not about being perfect every time. It's definitely not about going super hard every time and being like on point. It's about doing what you can, establishing a routine that is your baseline. So I call it my bare minimum. My bare minimum is I drink my water, I get my sleep, I take my supplements, I eat my food, I log it, and sometimes I don't. And then I notice a difference when the scale starts moving in the wrong direction. I'm like, yep, that's because I'm eating whatever. And I get my workouts in, even if it's not a great workout, even if I'm tired that week, because let's say I'm in my luteal phase or I'm in my menstrual phase and I just don't have it. It depends on how that goes. So if I'm really tired, I didn't sleep well, and I try to go in the gym, and within like the first 5 to 10 minutes, if I'm like, no, I just don't. If I'm not starting to feel better as I'm moving, then I'll take a rest day and I'll kick it to the next day, make sure that I really take care of myself, and then I'm able to go do that workout the next day. But if I get going and then I'm like, oh, I feel better now that I'm moving, that's a good sign. So you just got to listen to your body and where you're at and know that there's a reason for it. Like you're not making it up. And if you're one of those that like, no matter how much you are trying to rest, you never feel recovered, that is an issue too that needs to be addressed. Like what is going on? Is it your thyroid? Is it your hormones? Is it your sleep quality? Do you have sleep apnea? That needs a deeper dive to figure out what is going on there, because without adequate sleep, it doesn't matter anything else we do. It won't work. It won't get you there, because sleep is so, so pivotal, so important. So if you aren't sleeping well, that is the number one thing that has to be addressed. All right, so here are some myths that women usually get wrong, okay? I just need to eat less and move more. We already kind of touched on this, but let's repeat it, shall we? Because it is one that it's really hard to let go of, especially because we came from that 90s culture, ladies, of, all the cardio and not eating as much and needing to like be as tiny as possible, which is the opposite of what we should be striving for as we age. Being as small as possible is also the surest way to tank your metabolism, tank your hormones, and have massive bone loss and risk osteoporosis and fractures. I don't think any of us actually want that. So what our goal should actually be is to be a healthy body weight, healthy body composition, have as much lean muscle mass as we possibly can, and to fuel our bodies properly for all of that. That's where it goes back to strength training, protein, fiber, hydration, sleep. I just have bad genetics is another myth. Like I kind of talked about, genetics absolutely does play a role as far as your resting metabolic rate. That can work against you, but I will tell you from firsthand experience, like I thought I had a terrible metabolism. I thought I was always going to be heavy. And then I started on my weight loss journey in my late 20s, and I made a huge change in my body composition. I put on more muscle, and I've never gone back. I've never put that weight back on again, not to that extent. My weight has fluctuated, absolutely, and stress eating has a lot to do with it for me, which, is another topic we can get into later. But it was never something that I didn't have some type of control over. So yes, genetics plays a role. Thyroid plays a role. If you're not euthyroid, meaning like normal thyroid levels, if you have low thyroid, that will absolutely influence your resting metabolic rate, and it'll make it harder for you because you have to eat less in order to get the same results. Having more stress and things like that, all of these things that can affect your metabolic rate. So the metabolism is very complex and yet also very simple. It is calories in versus calories out. It is that simple, and yet it's also complex because the metabolism is adaptive. So it can change, but we have ways that we can change it for the better. So by optimizing your hormones, sleeping enough, fueling your body, giving it the right stimulus with strength training, as opposed to a ton of cardio, which just like you need all this energy just to burn through. That all of those things will, either help your metabolism or hinder it. So things that help it, more muscle mass. And by the way, muscle takes up significantly less room on you than body fat does. 5 pounds of fat and 5 pounds of muscle are very different on your body. The 5 pounds of muscle looks great, by the way. It's my age. Okay, so as we age, yes, to a certain extent, the metabolism does slow down, but so do we. Like I said, if you notice how active you were in your 20s or in your teens compared to how active you are now, okay, there's something to be said there. There's room to improve there, right? So let's look at your step count. Let's look at how much you're sitting during the day. Are you doing those exercise snacks? Are you strength training? Those things will really play a huge role. And again, that just daily calorie burn that you have. And then what types of foods that you're eating as well. And I've failed. Girl, you cannot fail if you don't quit, okay? And you just need to find something that works for you. Even when I'm talking about how I approach things, every one of my patients is different. We have to find what works for her and in this season. And that can change throughout the year. Summertime's different than fall, than winter, than spring. And the season of your life is different than it's ever been. What worked for you in your 20s doesn't work for you now, does it? No. Your body's like, no, that's not going to fly anymore. So it's not that you failed, you just haven't found what works for you. So you just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Your body wants to heal. It wants to be balanced. It wants to feel good. So let's focus on those things and you're going to get there. I was going to show you the 21-day flat belly challenge. You can kind of take a look at it. But if you go to that link in the comments there, you're going to be able to see kind of like a quick rundown of it. So it has a total of, it's about 3 weeks long, but you have lifetime access to it. So you work through it at your own pace. Week 1 intro and the toolbox that you're going to have. So you're going to have your toolbox, you're going to have your welcome, you have the flat belly detox diet. That's a full meal plan that you can use with recipes that you can like change the serving sizes and stuff. You can print them out. They are yours to use. And then the flat belly workout that comes with that. And it starts out like body weight. You can add weight. You can get more progressive. It's awesome. Works really well. Week 2 is talking about more about implementation. Like, how do we actually incorporate this into our lives? So it gives you those tips and those tactics to incorporate it solely into your life in a way that fits for you. So like customizing it to you. And then week 3 is like transformation, which is basically how do we keep the momentum going? What are the next steps? How do we continue on this journey without falling off? We don't want this to just be a thing that you do for a little bit and then you throw it aside like anything else. This needs to be a lifestyle change for life if it's going to work. And then there are currently this will be continuing to grow. There are currently 8 bonus modules in here as well, like eating out guides, travel guide, body measurement and progress tracker. How do we know that you're making progress? More than just body weight on the scale, because that only shows us a very small part of the equation. Hacking your schedule, motivation, how to use a kitchen scale. That's something that's kind of important. And then I put in reflections here from the San Juan Islands from my latest trip, and how you can incorporate your vacation into your home life when you get home. So that's kind of what I talk about there. And so that's an example of one of the bonuses that'll be added periodically. We're just going to throw things in there at you and just continue to build on that. There is a group chat as well. So if you have any questions, you can always pop them in there. We do announcements every now and again in there as well. So that is the Flat Belly Challenge. That is done with its sale on the 31st. That's this Friday, guys. You have 3 days. Tomorrow is the live Zoom with me in that challenge. And it will be recorded, so even if you don't get in, or you get in tonight and you're like, I can't make tomorrow at noon, that's totally fine. It'll be recorded. You'll have access to that, and you can always ask questions in the chat at any time. So it's interactive. I want you guys to be able to use this material and ask me questions, and I want it to help you. I really want it to and that's what the feedback that I've gotten from those people who have gone through the program was like, oh, that actually was really helpful. Like, it was eye-opening. I was able to implement some things. My gut health has gotten better, my bloating is better, and I'm seeing progress, which is great. Not everything is going to give you immediate results, but 21-day Flat Belly Challenge, you're going to get some results within that 21 days if you follow the protocol, if you follow the plan and trust the process, right? So next month we are going to probably I think I'm going to do sleep. Honestly, I've been debating. I want to do gut health. I want to do all these things, but I think sleep is going to be my next one that we're going to do. And that's a brand new program that I'll be launching next month. So stay tuned for that. I hope that was helpful. I hope today was helpful. Your little impromptu masterclass on belly fat, myths, and things you can actually do to help with that. And if you guys have any questions, you watch the replay, say #replay, put your questions in the comments or send me a DM, and I will see you on the next live. Bye.